Mhm.
We are live in a minute early.
That's a shocker. That never happens.
Went pretty smooth tonight. That trip to Europe, did you find?
Well, the odd thing is, I'm not seeing it. Let's see. Not showing up for me.
Well, Ruby says she sees me. Hey, Ruby, that's
There
my
we are.
wife for any
There we are.
viewers.
I got it.
A little bit of delay, I guess. So,
Hey, everybody. It's Steve Sandy and Mr. Marty Edwards, and we're here for AWT TV, episode 46. It's September 25th, 2018. And boy, we've got a lot to talk about because
we do. I've got a new Apple here, and that's why I was turning the camera a little.
you do have a new Apple.
Yeah, my wife was at the Rite Aid drugstore, and they had those on sale for half price. Made it $5. Very nice ceramic apple. So, quick little view there.
And so now you've got more than one new Apple.
Yeah. And yeah, it looks good. Got them both framed. How do I look? All right. Oh, I've got a little bright there. Let me darken that screen. All right, there we go.
There we are. Yeah, so I was out of town for 32 days and back today, or well, actually back last Sunday, a week ago Sunday, I should say. But yeah, it was a great trip. Didn't do a whole heck of a lot of work while I was on the trip. So as vacations go, it was probably one of the best I've had.
Well, good. I haven't been anywhere hardly, but it's been we missed doing it. But we've got so much. We've had the Apple event of September. You got on a hat. Yeah, a different hat.
I'll have to tell you about this hat. What do you think that is on top of it?
Hang on. Let me look. It looks like the baskets of loaves and fishes.
You are exactly right. Yeah, I bought this hat at a essentially a place where that all happened, right near the Sea of Galilee. So
that's pretty neat. Yeah, I know my Bible well.
You know it really well.
Well, I hope so. I don't know if a lot of people on broadcast know. I've been a minister, same congregation for 26 plus years now. I actually have a degree in Bible, but that means nothing, you know. There's my wife's text tone, English horn. I say it means nothing, you know, that doesn't get Bible knowledge, but when I went to college, that's what I pursued. So
cool. Well,
and you asked me about Hebrew. I don't know Hebrew at all, but I know Greek pretty well. Even taught a little Greek when I was in college. I was just a sub when the teacher was gone. They'd asked me to teach.
Not bad.
Yeah,
it's funny because you know, like I told Marty while we were on the trip, my wife and I kind of made a promise to ourselves that we were going to try to learn Hebrew. And we really enjoyed visiting Israel, seeing, really a lot of places that we've only read about, in the past, but it was just great visiting those. And, but I have to agree with you, Marty, because, Barb and I, we can read Greek pretty well, and in a lot of cases, a lot of English words, of course, I do have Greek roots. So we were, you'd read something and you'd go, I know what that is.
right.
See something else, I know what that is. Hebrew, haven't got a clue. So it's going to be an interesting thing to learn.
Yeah, I never put the time into Hebrew. It wasn't taught nearly as much because, we focus on the New Testament Greek. Koine Greek is what they call it. It's, an older Greek, the common Greek. And but I feel like I'm stronger than ever in it. And so Ruby's really picked up a lot because I always put the Greek up on our big screen when I'm going through verses as well. So enjoy doing that.
Cool.
But we've got a lot to talk about. We on the 12th of September had the Apple event, new iPhones, new Apple Watch, and I think we both have. I got the iPhone Max.
Well, and I have the iPhone Max.
Yeah, same here. I got it on day one because I am not on the big carriers. In times past, you've always had to order and be a AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, or Verizon customer. I'm on Bluegrass Cellular, which is regional in Kentucky. And if I go onto Apple on day one, I think I did it 2 years ago, and I try to order SIM free. It's not even available. They usually wait a month to 6 weeks. And I told Ruby, my wife, that I wouldn't be able to order because they don't do SIM free on first day. She said, well, maybe they changed their policy. I logged on. Sure enough, they had. Thank you, Ruby. I got up. I set an alarm for 1:45. She set an alarm for 1:45. I got up. She went back to sleep. And she was just doing it to help me get up. And I sat here and I kept hitting, refresh on the browser, F5 and the refresh arrow, and I got in. I think finally it maybe was it 2:03 our time. I got in, logged, and got the one I wanted. And here it is. I will tell you, I splurged a little. I got the 512.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah, I just got the 256, but you'll notice I also have the beautiful Horizon, Blue Horizon, I should call it, Apple silicone case. Just picked that up today. But yeah, I've got a fun little story to tell you about that because it was interesting. I really didn't think I was going to be able to update because, of course, the iPhone 10 didn't really ship until November of last year. And, I thought you needed to have the phone for at least a year.
Right.
So here we are crossing the Atlantic Ocean. We were somewhere between Madeira and the Bahamas. And, I'm hearing all this. And I said, well, man, I really ought to consider getting one. I went out, pulled up the Apple Store app on my iPhone, went in, and I said, hey, sure, you can update. All you're going to have to do is pay the last two payments for your existing phone, and then we'll just start you, brand new with the new one. So I went ahead. I said, the heck with it. I'm going to do it. Got everything pre-set up. And the funny thing is I slept right through the alarm.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah. And I guess, I can't complain because I got some good sleep, but I was about 4 hours late. And so by the time I actually got the order in, which took no time at all, nobody was on there at that point, I think. But, it said, oh, you're probably going to get it between September 28th and October 3rd. And so I was thrilled when it actually showed up yesterday, September 24th. I was really happy about that. And they must be selling really well because when I went over to the Apple Store at Aspen Grove today to pick up this case, the guy looked at the phone and he goes, you have a 10S Max? And I said, yeah, why? And he goes, haven't seen many of those. And that was the way he put it.
Well, on Mac Rumors yesterday, they had an article that they're in serious short supply. That they're selling so much that Samsung just can't keep up with the NAND demand for them, and everything. And but that was the first time I ordered, day one, which was the 14th, and it said it'd be here the 21st. And of course, like everybody else, I kept checking online. It just said processing. And so finally, and I learned a little tip I didn't know from one of the forums on another site. It said go to UPS even if you don't have a tracking number. And it was, I think, tracked by another way. And so I entered my phone number. Sure enough, it popped up, and it was in Zhengzhou, China. There. And then it went to Anchorage, Alaska, then to Louisville, Kentucky. Not because I'm in Kentucky. Louisville's the UPS air hub for UPS. And then, of course, it shipped out. And sure enough, the guy brought it to me that day. So I got it on the 21st, day one. And I'm going to confess, I had done a return on it. I wasn't going to keep it because I thought it was so high. And but I had true repentance, and I called Apple, told them, I said, I want to cancel the return. So I talked to a really nice lady, and they put it on. She said, well, just if you don't send it in 14 days, it's going to cancel itself. And so and it did, but I will tell another. I don't know if I should tell this part or not. We live in a rural area where you can bend the rules a little. I was so determined I was going to send it back. I was going to I actually took it and dropped it off at FedEx, a shipping place, on Saturday. 30 minutes before they closed. So I decided I do want that phone back. So I went to the shipping place on Monday. And when they opened, I had the receipt. I had a picture of the box. I said, I dropped this phone in only 30 minutes ago of actual store time. I said, right before you close on Saturday. This was Monday morning. I said, I'd really like to have that back. She looked at it. She said, okay. She got it out of the back and handed it to me because it hadn't been it had not been entered into the system yet. So,
Oh,
there
wow.
was nothing to no hoops to jump through. So she just handed it to me and I am so glad. That doesn't mean I'm not an Apple person. I just thought it was too much because I had to pay full price,
Yeah.
1,500.
Yeah, for me, it's like an additional, I think,
Yeah.
$8 a month. I went from a 256 iPhone 10 to 256 iPhone 10s Max, and like I said, I think it was additional, I don't know, $5, $6 a month. So it really wasn't that much of an impact. But I can imagine buying it outright. You kind of went, gulp.
Well, I tell you what I did do. My wife has a Barclay credit card, which Apple, uses as did as their credit, and they every so often, especially this time of year, they offer interest free if you pay it off in so many months. And so I did that, and so I think they're only charging $27 a month, but that won't pay it off. I've got 18 months to pay it off and no interest, which I'll do hopefully a lot quicker than that, so I can get a new one next year. So it's really about the same. So I think when the first $27 was due, I paid quadruple the payment,
Yeah.
rough close to it. And so it'll take not much time. But if you have to buy SIM free, it is high. But consider, I think Apple does a Citizens now. Barclay has Apple, and it is totally interest free, and you get a little bit of money back because you get, I think every $500 a spend or something like that, you get so many points toward an Apple gift card. And so my wife actually, because of buying this phone, got $50 gift card today.
Nice.
So a little bit back, and it's interest free. So it's not as bad as it sounds. $1,500. But I really wanted the first time I wanted to get to 512. Do I need it? Of course not.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I really, I looked at it and I went, do I really need 512? And both my iPad Pro and my iPhone 10 had 256 gigs of storage. And to be honest with you, I found that to be more than enough. And I mean, we
Yeah.
do a lot of photography, especially on our trips. I back up my DSLR SD card, pull it out, stick it in a reader, back it up to the phone, back it up to the iPad, whatever. And iPad is and this were absolutely nowhere close to being full. So I felt, reasonably secure in getting the 256. Will that change down the road? Who knows? Probably will.
Well, one of the things I'm going to do, I do feel all into Apple. If you read my article today, anybody does on Apple World today, I wrote an article. And thanks for correcting. I had an error that Ruby proofread, but there's no way she would have caught this. I had mentioned that they had, 1 trillion process, could do 1 trillion
Yeah.
processes a second, the neural network, and you corrected it to 5 trillion, which
Yeah.
is right. And I appreciate you doing that.
It's only 5 times more. It's
Yeah, I know. I had the wrong one, but I had the prices right. But if anyone's listening, you get a chance to read that article, please do, because it's why that I think the iPhones are worth the price. It's much more than the sum of its parts. I mean, great hardware, great software, but I'll give a brief synopsis. I did buy a Pixel 2. I wanted to try it, and I bought a Note 9. I did them both on credit because they all were interest free. Google was no problem to return, took it right back, credit pretty quickly, but they charged me $35 restocking fee. Ouch, but that's okay. I got to play with the Pixel 2. Samsung, I don't know what they're going to do. I sent it back a month ago, and I still haven't got a refund on it. They've already billed me for 1 month. It's not due till mid-October, so I'm playing tag with Samsung, trying to say, I don't have this phone. I need this removed. So, I've got, and the guy had texted me or emailed me from Samsung, said it takes about 30 days. Apple's 5 days on refunds. And the customer service of others besides Apple cannot compare.
Yeah.
Apple customer service is just second to none. So maybe read that article. It's a quick read. Did you see we had at least one comment on the article? Some guy said, yes. That was all he said.
Yes. I love that. Well, I have to agree, and this is a little bit off topic, but not much. But of course, yesterday, Mac OS Mojave 10.14 came out. And I'd been running it on this MacBook Pro for quite a while, and I felt really, really comfortable about upgrading my iMac to it. So much so that the minute it was available, or in fact, it was before it was actually in the App Store, somebody had posted a link. I went out, I downloaded it, and I installed it on my iMac. And everything worked just beautifully. I mean, it was a relatively fast update. Everything went very well. And then it was about probably 2 or 3 hours later, all of a sudden I'm typing along and my keyboard stops working. And I thought, sometimes it'll just lose the connection. And, I kind of go in there and I turn it off and I turn it back on and it repairs with the iMac and everything's fine. I have one of the Apple wireless keyboards and I have one of the Magic trackpads. Well, all of a sudden, neither of them worked. And I noticed if I looked at the little Bluetooth icon that's up in the menu bar, it had a little kind of squiggle line through it. And I'd never seen that before. Click on it and it would say Bluetooth not available, which I thought was different. So then I went, I thought, well, I better go to System Preferences and see what's going on. Went to System Preferences, and the preference panel for Bluetooth was gone. So, I really didn't feel like calling Apple. So I just got onto Twitter and I tweeted, I should say, Apple support. And, it was, really have to say I enjoyed the entire process because I told them what I had done and what the symptoms were and, what wasn't working, did some screenshots with their that they requested. And, they'd come back with an answer. And then 2 hours later, after doing something, I, sent another answer to them and we went back and forth like that. And finally, what they suggested was going in and resetting the SMC on the iMac, which with an iMac, basically all you do is you shut down the machine, you pull out the power cord for, I think it's 15 seconds, plug it back in, and then restarted the machine. And sure enough, that brought back the, the actual preference pane for Bluetooth, but I was still having problems connecting. And a couple more reboots and a couple, tries here and there, and finally everything went back and it's working fine now. So, not sure what happened, but I think it definitely is related somehow to Mojave. My guess is that if other people run into the same problem, we'll see a fix right away. But that it was so nice to be able to go through this kind of slow back and forth. I didn't feel like I had to sit on the phone for 3 hours straight talking to somebody from Apple. Instead, it was just try this. And if you've forgotten how to do this, this is how you do, this particular thing. They wanted me to do reboot and save mode once, and it's like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. But, they sent instructions just in case. I really recommend it. If you ever get into a situation where you feel like, yeah, I've got some time to do this and the machine's not totally down, I just have an issue here, tweet at Apple support. They've got some good people there, and, they pointed me in the right direction. So I give them a thumbs up on that.
I guess it's comparable to resetting. I think it's called is it param, some kind of.
Yeah, parameter. Yeah, the SMC. I trying to remember what the heck that stands for. Let me look it up here. Wikipedia. What the heck is it called here? SMC is SMC. Boom, 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 boom. Well, this may not help because it's. Let's see. I'm going to say Mac SMC. System Management Controller. And basically what you're doing there, I think, is resetting the parameter RAM, but it worked just beautifully. And, I hadn't even thought of that. It's been so long since I've been an Apple consultant.
Well, talking about, I'm going to really even try to learn more. And I guess deciding to stick with this phone and no others. I almost feel like vows to keep myself to you and none other, something like that. But it's gonna, I love using the Mac. I commented to my wife Ruby, who's listening, watching in Arkansas, and her parents, that I love the Mac. It's my favorite computer I've ever used. I just really like using the Mac, and that makes me want to stay with an iPhone, which I do. I'm going to, and even get into the system a little bit more. I tell you what, probably need to talk more about what we saw on the 12th, but something I have really started to use. I love that iCloud Drive, where I just drop something in there and it goes everywhere.
Yep.
And so that's one of the reasons I considered 512. And I'm thinking about, I hadn't even told Ruby yet. I'm thinking about it'll only cost us $8 more per month. Maybe going through 2 terabyte of storage. I got to 50 now. And so we each pay for 50. She pays $1 a month. I pay $1 a month. And so if I go with the 2 terabyte, that's $10 a month. But the others will be canceled. So we're pay, a net increase of 8, and we can share that. And so 2 terabytes huge. I could back up my Mac and hers, which I wish Time Machine could. Maybe a time it can.
Yeah, I still, and I probably brought it up on the show before, but I really think they need to figure out a way of letting people use that wonderful 2 terabytes, and I'm sure down the road they'll probably raise it to 5 or 10 terabytes or something like that. But wouldn't it be great if you could just say, do a Time Machine backup to iCloud? Backs up out there. You don't have to worry about having a drive next to your computer that fails or gets burned up with your computer. Everything instead is time machined out to the cloud. Just really surprises me that they haven't done that, but maybe they don't want to do a Sherlock, go in and take over the functionality of some company like Backblaze, or
Right.
Some of the other ones that are out there.
But yeah, I'm really interested in doing that. And well, I guess we just mentioned. What did you think of the keynote? I mean, overall, and
well, it was kind of funny because for the second half of our trip, it was actually 2 cruises that were back to back, and so it was just one long cruise for us. But for the first part of the trip, I just had their regular internet plan, which was horrible. And they said, well, we have this, slightly better plan at much better speeds. You can actually stream stuff. And
wow.
Steve, of course, was thinking, I can stream the keynote. So I paid like an additional $110 or something like that for the remainder of the cruise. And come the day of the event, I went out there and I'm trying to stream, and I'd get like a frame, and then it would, conk out, and then it would come up, and I'd see somebody walking, and then it would conk.
Right.
So basically, what I ended up doing was, sitting there on Twitter, just watching people make comments about what was happening, and it was kind of a sad turn of events, but hey, at least I had a really good cruise.
Well, if I had thought to tell you, it was the first time ever Apple broadcasted on Twitter. That could have been lower bandwidth, probably for more mobile. So,
Yeah.
But the blogs that tweet what's happening is usually a good way to watch.
Yeah, because usually I know, and being a person that actually did live blog some of the back in the days of Macworld, iWorld, I broadcast or live blogged some of the keynotes. I think humans tend to put a little bit more into their comments. You hear certain things and you go, wow, this is really important. You can just watch it on TV and something will just fly right past you, or you get interested in something else, and you look at something and you look back at the screen and you've just missed something that was really actually pretty important. And so I always find it really interesting to just kind of see and listen and hear what other people are saying about the announcement. And there were some really good comments that people came up with during the event. Now, the one thing we haven't talked about, that was the other big announcement, of course, was the Apple Watch Series 4, and bigger display, thinner, more waterproof, as our iPhones. I love the fact that they've actually tested it with beer. That's very important to me. And it was fascinating, though, to see some of the features that they announced. The fall detector for people, either who may have balance issues or who are elderly. Apparently, if you're 65 or older, it'll turn that on by default. Which
I just saw that today, which is amazing.
Yeah. And, people, I don't think a lot of people really understand how dangerous falls are to elderly people. It was funny last year. Well, it wasn't funny, but last year in June, my mom, who just turned 90, by the way, yay, mom. But anyway, she tripped and fell playing with my sister's dog in our backyard and broke her femur.
Yeah.
And, people I had talked to, the folks at the hospital were saying, well, this is not a good thing because elderly people breaking a hip or a bone like that, it's a death sentence.
Yeah.
That's basically what they told me. Well, a year later, and she's doing fine. So, fantastic that happened. But I know so many people who they've had a relative who's fallen, broke a hip. They don't heal well in bed. They're supposed to get bed rest. They end up getting a blood clot, and the next thing you know, they're dead. So being able to prevent falls is, something that's not going to happen with an Apple Watch. But being able to get somebody there immediately, that's extremely important. And I think that's what helped my mom was she fell. I was on the phone immediately to 911, and 3 minutes later, we had the paramedics there, helping her, and they got her to the hospital. So, yay, Apple.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing. What I was going to do, see if it's been so long since we have broadcast, I wanted to see if I could show any of the phone here. A while ago, I hooked it up, and it said it has to be an update before your Mac can access. And by the way, I updated to Mojave today, and so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I got that same type of message. I was, fiddling around trying to get Mimo Live set up because I'd really like to see, hopefully within a couple of weeks we'll do a side-by-side and we'll have some stuff down.
Right.
But I really, really, really had some issues with that, and I've got to talk to the guys at Boinks to see if I can get that worked out. The big issue, though, was when I'd hook in my iPhone, it came up and basically said the same thing. You need to get an update, to something.
Yeah, it's not letting me hook the iPhone up. It's asking, you want to trust this computer? And I said yes, but QuickTime is not recognizing it for some reason.
Oddly enough, I can hear you, but I can't see you.
All right. Let's see if I can get back
get back to where you once belonged.
Yeah. All right. I guess I lost the microphone here. I still got the webcam set up. Apparently QuickTime some way, or the phone has done something. I'll have to practice on that. And you still can't see me, can you?
No.
But can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. You know
it
what?
Might be best.
Did your lights go out?
No, I can see myself on the screen, but I'm frozen in time.
Oh,
and so that is a little odd. So when I plugged up the phone, it cut off the camera some way. Very interesting.
Wait, now
I turned the camera off and back on.
There you are.
All right, I'm gonna try this once more. Live TV, and so if it locks it up, and see if if I can connect. I tell you what, I know I've mentioned this before, but I think what I like most nearly is Face ID. That is the nicest single feature that they have added. It's just, I admit I didn't keep my phone locked because, we live out on the farm, just me and my wife and my mother. And just around the house, I'd have it not to lock for 4 hours, so it would overnight, but not during the day, because just having to unlock it. But now with Face ID, I keep it locked all the time. And because I don't even realize it is locked. All right, let's see if I can do a new movie recording, which it should select the phone. Nope, it's only offering uh, the camera here, which I'm not going to do, or the Apple TV. So let me turn the camera off and back on.
I almost wonder if that's a security feature of some sort.
It may be. There's a lot. I guess you can see me now because I see myself moving. So I guess I'm
There you
here.
are.
Yes, I'm not going to be able to demonstrate anything on the phone tonight, apparently. So I'll
Well,
just have to do that next time.
don't feel bad because, like I said, when I was doing these experiments with Mimo Live yesterday, I was running into the same thing. So I'm wondering if this is indeed an issue with Mojave or
It
iOS
may be.
12.
Remember? They locked down, but I hadn't been locked that USB port that nothing can access it for if it's been so long.
Oh,
And
that's right.
and I wonder if that could be part of it.
That definitely could.
So I may try that here. This is live TV. But in case there's there's the phone. You see the notch at the top. I admit last year I did not buy the iPhone 10 because I didn't think I'd like the notch. Well, truly, I, humbly say it's a non-issue. I don't even notice it. It's
Yeah.
like it's not there. It's amazing how well it works. Let me try that because that should be under security about the USB, and we'll learn here if that's what's keeping me from connecting. Uh,
Well, I swear if the next round of Macs does not have Face ID, I'm going to be really, really upset.
I don't even know where to find that right offhand. I had seen it earlier. It's not under, it's probably some kind of security. Yeah, I hope they do have Face ID. And I am so ready for a new Mac because I'm using a 3-year-old, Mac Mini, and I am ready but I want to wait for the Mac Pro.
Well, it's funny. Really haven't thought about getting a new iMac because it's a late 2015. It's, going to be 3 years old. Really fast processor in it. I didn't max it out in RAM, but I did get a really fast processor and got a decent amount of RAM in it and a lot of storage. But the one thing I noticed, I'm did quite a bit of 360 photography when we were on this trip and videography as well. And this is for another episode. We'll have to talk about the Oculus Go VR headset that I got, which is actually really cool. But processing the 360 video is incredibly time consuming, even on a really, really fast machine. And I was sitting there thinking, wow, I could use a faster computer. So who knows?
All right, I've got something for you here. Well, that worked. I got it hooked to the computer, but now how to send it, you can't see it, can you?
Nope.
All right, turn the webcam off. I'm trying to get the camera. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I was taken on my 40th birthday when I was young.
Oh, that was just last week, right?
Yeah, a few weeks. Okay. I do not know how to send that over there because Google Hangouts, I have the option to switch cameras, but it never offers that option. I guess you can hear me, I assume.
You bet.
Okay, there's the audio in and out, and the webcam cannot broadcast that screen. I think I can do a screen capture some way. I'll probably end up cutting us off and everything.
Well, at least we're experimenting here because
Well, we are live and a little bit fun and all, but I've got the phone hooked to the computer, but apparently some reason I cannot do that in Hangouts. I can't do a screen capture.
That is so weird.
So
Well, and that, like I said, that's what I was running into with Mimo Live. It's supposed to take any iOS devices hooked up, and it's supposed to see that as an additional camera, but it wasn't showing up. So I think we've got an issue here. And
yeah, okay. I can do this now. I just thought I can drag it over here, possibly. Chrome wants to share your contents. Okay, application window. I think I'm getting somewhere here. Let's try
ooh,
this.
you'll have to tell me how to do it.
All
Oh, yeah, I
right,
see
can
it.
you see it?
Yes, I can.
All right, is it staying up when I'm not talking? Because you know how Google does sort of a push to talk type thing.
Yeah, it's
So
good.
we learned something. I hope my wife's still watching because this is a great victory. uh, let's see. All right, just to show you a little bit about the phone here. Are you seeing the entire phone?
Yes, I am.
There's a baseball score. I'll look at the phone here, see if it'll unlock. Sure enough, did you see it? And there's a text from my wife right there. Are you seeing it and
He
everything?
is watching.
Yeah, she is. So
Hi, Ruby.
Steve said hi. But I guess you heard swipe to unlock. And my phone looks like the old one because, as you well know, how easy it is to do a restore. I know you held the two phones together, but I didn't have my old phone. So I did iCloud, but it is so flawless. I love it, you know.
Well, I
Uh,
tell you, I was totally shocked with that yesterday because uh, yeah, I guess I knew that they were doing that, but I hadn't gone through the process
right.
before. But just putting, it basically came up and said, if you want to, you've got your other phone, just bring it over here, point the camera at this pattern, and the two sat there and talked. I didn't have to enter almost anything in. It
It
took
is
care of
pretty
it.
amazing. Well, I'll show you a couple of things while I've got it up here on iOS 12. I think we'd gone to. It will now do screen time. I hadn't even set it up yet. This is my phone. Turn on screen time. It may not do anything since. All right, no, I just started it, so it's not going to do.
You
Oh,
said
Ruby,
1 second, 5
there's
seconds.
Ruby saying hello back to you. See there at the top? Rolled across there. I love the new battery. Uh,
Yeah.
information. Of course, that's in iOS 12, mostly tune in radio is what I've been listening to. 4 hours, 53 minutes in the background. But just overall, if anyone doesn't have the new phones yet, there's no home button. You just swipe up and over to go into this and say, I want to, there's Ruby's information there, broadcast to the world. uh, so I just got, that's my nephew texting me. Hello, watching live. My Max 256 is due in Thursday. Well, good. And so just show you some of the different, I'll swipe my wife's contact information away. Not that we live exactly secret lives or anything, but it's hard to show some of the new functions. I will show you this. I did, as I told you, to go ahead and let me see about phone. Um, go down to general, then about. As you see, I don't care if I see the serial number, but
Wow.
see, I got the 512. You see it there?
478.47 gigabytes free.
And this status is an app I like a lot. But right there, you can see the storage 511.9 total. And it's, I've noticed one thing very different. If you'll see on the average load, it does, the Unix type loads of 1, 5, and 15 minutes. It stays really low, whereas other phones would say sometime even up in double digits. I'm really interested in this A12. There's not a lot to really show you that's just for the new phone, but everything just runs faster. It's so much snappier. It's, as they say, buttery smooth. I love the swipe gestures. If I've got something open, I'll open up the Bible here. And whenever I swipe it away, you see how it does that sort of curve into the background?
Yeah.
It looks, I mean, the power to do that. And then when I lock, of course, you should see my screen locked, and I'm going, it's locked to you there. I've got it facing away from me. I'm going to turn it toward my face. And, there it just snaps open. It works so well. So,
Yeah.
anyway, that was just, this is almost
Face
more of a
ID
test.
is just so incredible. And the one thing I really love about iOS 12, I forgot to bring this up, but is the ability now for third-party password apps to be added to the autofill. So now when something comes up on the screen or in an app and it says, do you want to fill in or please fill in your username and password? It used to be that it would just look at the passwords that you had stored in the keychain in iCloud, and that's fine. But I have been using 1Password for I don't know how many years. I love that app, and it works on all my Apple devices. Works very, very well. And I kept thinking, it would sure be nice if I didn't have to get out of an app, go over, launch 1Password, look up a password, then go back to the app and paste it in. Well, now you can add 1Password as one of the things that will actually autofill for you. And the minute I got that set up, I was just absolutely thrilled with it. It was like, finally, I can do
Right.
this.
Well, I guess Face ID is probably the single most wow feature to me of the new phones, because whenever I just like go into the banking app and I look at it and I see that little face icon, then it flies open.
Yeah.
It's so nice and futuristic. I did turn off attention where it needs your eyes. I find it a little bit easier, and quicker, but I really can't tell much difference. It's got a feature that it won't dim the phone while you're looking at it because it can detect your eyes looking at the phone. So if you have your timeout, say, set for 30 seconds, which I do, if I have that on, as long as I'm reading, my wife reads a lot of books and she reads on her phone. So Ruby, this is for you. You can say, as long as you're reading, it won't dim the phone. As soon as you look away and do something else, then it will dim. So that's pretty amazing there. The technology, one of the things, and this has been a good show because it was good anyway, but that was a major little victory there of how to share my phone on Hangouts. I didn't know if I could. And so,
Like I said, you're going to have to tell me how you did that.
yeah, well, it went in and said, did I want to share a screen or an application? I had it to share, a screen. It could do a screen, but then I told it to do an application. I had to think
Ah,
where I did that up there. Over at the left, I'll show you now. If you'll do your mouse to the left, you see the little green screen that says screen share.
let's see. Screen share.
Click that, and then you can do your entire screen or pick an application.
Application window.
And so QuickTime was one of the applications. So I just clicked on it and it shared that only. So it was super easy.
Oh, that is too cool.
We may find Google Hangouts works better than we thought,
Yeah.
It actually is working pretty good. Can't do thirds with it, but I've heard you say that. It just sounded good. I don't even know what it means. I mean, it's part of your screen.
The lower
Right.
thirds text, and you can have little scrolling things.
Right. Donate now to Steve's retirement fund. Subscribe.
Excuse me.
But I think the thing I'm excited most, I wouldn't want to close the broadcast out without mentioning this, is the A12 chip itself. And I want to talk about real quick in a moment Siri shortcuts. I have tinkered with that some. I'm stunned what that I can do just by clicking one button. But the A12, the new CPU, and I read on some site they said this was the boring part. Au contraire. This was so geeky, I just soaked it up and played it back over. I had Ruby come in and watch it. Let's get some popcorn. And so, but of course, it's obviously 64-bit, but it's a 6-core processor, 2 high performance, 4 energy efficient or low performance, but they all 6 can run at one time. I'm reading a little bit here so I don't forget it. It includes a 4-core GPU for graphics, 50% faster. That's why on these demos I've seen on YouTube, it loads games so much faster than, say, Android. And then it includes a part of the chip called the neural engine, which basically does artificial intelligence. And it is 8 cores. And last year it could do 600 billion operations per second. I was stunned, thought that was amazing. Now it's almost 10 times more, about 8 times more. 5 trillion operations per second. 5 trillion. I can't even hardly think about that. And it's the first chip that's a 7 nanometer. That's how big the transistors are in it, 7 billionths of a meter. Now put that in perspective. Look, take one of your hairs, Steve, and
I don't have any.
well, pretend you do. Take one hair. At 7 nanometers of a transistor, you could put 10,000 across on one human hair. That is
That's
stunning.
scary.
Either people are stunned or tuning out now. But that amazes me. It has 6.9 billion transistors in it and 4 gigabyte of, cache and no, of memory and not that much cache.
You
But
know,
it's almost a Cray supercomputer of yesteryear in our pocket.
it's well beyond a lot of the craze, because I can remember one of the early iPhones. My wife and I were down at Los Alamos, New Mexico. And of course, the Los Alamos National Laboratory has a museum there, and you can kind of look at this stuff. And they actually had one of the, I think it was like a Cray 2 or Cray 3.
Those in that semicircle or
Yeah,
like a safe
circular with the,
yeah.
you could actually sit
Right.
on it. It was kind of cool. But it talked about, at that time, and like I said, this was probably 2008, 2009. But it talked about, how much memory it had, the speed it ran at, and the number of operations per second that it could actually handle. And at that time, and one of the early iPhones was well past that. And I gotta wonder if Apple, with these the A series chips that they're doing, if they're doing some work on taking like a massive number of these chips and turning them into like a massive AI computer, because they're very energy efficient, which is something that has always been a problem with some of these very large, quote unquote, thinking machines or supercomputers, is that you need a tremendous amount of cooling. Well, it's very energy efficient. We know it's fast, and really all you would need to do is just create what they call a massively parallel supercomputer using these things. You'd probably have the most powerful computer in the world. So I got to wonder if maybe they're looking at something like that to power the next generation of Siri. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Well, it would, they could do much processing. We've got a few minutes yet. I want to show you one more thing since I know halfway what I'm doing now. So have you got the screen on my phone back?
Yeah.
One of the things I want to mention I was most excited about was Siri shortcuts. Basically, this lets you give one command and it will just, you can speak it or touch on it. And the shortcuts, you program them in. I don't want to get too geeky on people here, but if I was going to create a shortcut, I was stunned at how many things that you could do. I just was doing a little bit of experimenting, but I searched for shortcuts and it can pull data from any of these apps. But one of the things it has was scripting. You can have it control the phone. Tap a button, control Bluetooth, brightness. I did a little bit of testing, like if the battery level, normally at 20% is when it goes low power mode. I can make it do it at 90% if I wanted to. They've really opened up a lot. And I'll show you a quick little demonstration. I had to admit, at first, I was mildly disappointed because I thought it's going to send a text, but you have to intervene. Not so, because I've got a text Ruby here. I'll tap on it, and it does it. I had it sent her a test message, and then I had to hit send. But I can do one command in there. It wasn't documented. It says show while running. That was turned on. Now, if I turn that off, I've got one to me to send the date and time. I'd sent something from Revelation. She said it was received. And so, why her text didn't roll across the top? No, I don't have it. Ruby might send me another text. But if I tap this second one here, all right, it's done. Now I go back to the text. There, it came to me. I sent myself the date and time. I didn't have to do anything. So I can name that text like test. I could say Siri test, and it will send that text automatically without any intervention from me of touching the phone. And so to me, that is, as they say, a game changer. I only have a request, one thing of Apple. Let me evoke or trigger those Siri shortcuts by time and location without any intervention. I'd love to be able to every time, say I got to the church building, to automatically turn on Do Not Disturb, you know, text people we're ready to start if I wanted to, or something like that. So, but anyway, that was what I wanted to cover very briefly.
Yeah, I can't wait to really start getting into some of the Siri shortcuts. Right now, I think the only, see if I can find it here. I was fiddling around with that, and I'm trying to remember what I set up. But once again, like you said, it's
Well, to me,
oh,
that's amazing what we can do.
yeah, being able to say, "Hey Siri, take a picture."
Running your shortcut.
Oh, and I had to tap it there because I hadn't given it access to my photos yet on this phone. But being able to, for instance, if you wanted to set your phone somewhere and say, Siri, take a picture, or Hey Siri, take a picture.
Running your shortcut.
And there it's done. It took a picture. I didn't have to touch anything. I didn't have to do anything else. You know, being able to do that, it's remarkably powerful. You know,
well, it really is.
Don't need a remote anymore. Yeah.
Well, you're right, and I assume that I'm back on here, that you can see me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and here's the picture I just took, by the way.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Well,
let me try one more thing here. I'm going to, and give Ruby a heads up. Now that I've got screen shared down, this is so easy to do this. I actually find it easier than Zoom to screen share. Okay, we're back, and there's Ruby's text. And I turned it off. Hey, Siri, text Ruby.
What do you want to say?
All right, that's not the shortcut name. And so let me see what the shortcut name was. Well, it was text Ruby. And so I think it's because I have the name text in it. It has to choose what to do. So let me go in and rename that. And I'm just going to edit this when it was called text Ruby. And see if I can, I don't want to delete it here. She got it. So as you see, it says received there. But if I turn off, if you hit show when run, it will always stop and wait for you to do that. I wanted to save that and duplicate shortcut. That's what I'll do. Probably be the easiest thing. See if I can I keep sending her text here. See if I can rename it. And I don't see how to rename it right offhand.
Go back to the buttons and click on the
oh, the magic thing? No,
maybe not.
I don't know how to rename it here. That's what I wanted to do. Well, anyway, I'll just show real quick how to create one. Let me create a shortcut. All right. And this may be a little too geeky for people, but let me, there she is. Let me go down to messages and let's see. I think I'm going to do that. I do not know how to rename it.
You know, I was running into the same problem, and I can't remember how I did it. Let me see if I can find that. Get that. No, that didn't work.
I hear.
So we're all sitting here going, how the heck? Oh, go under settings, which is the little icon that looks like a pair of switches there.
Okay.
And it's got name up at the top of it.
Mine doesn't have name. Take a look at where I'm at here. Is that where you're at? Oh, right there. Okay, there we go. You're okay.
There we go.
Sometimes it's a little hard to find.
Yeah, they need to improve that, I think.
All right, I'm just going to call that Ruby. I add it to Siri. Okay, there we go. That's what I had not done. All right, you go to the little switches. I named this one just simply called Ruby. You give it an icon that you want. Since her name's Ruby, we'll make it sort of Ruby color. Add it to Siri. Now I have to record this. Ruby. Okay, that was it. You can re-record it, show in widget, or add it to the home screen. Now, I already had that done, so now I should just be able to say, hey Siri, Ruby.
Running your shortcut. Done.
Okay, now it did. And it should have texted her out, so it did send it.
Yeah.
Without me see if it'll do it for this. Hey Siri, Ruby.
Running your shortcut.
Okay.
Done.
All right, I'll get off that screen here. But as you see, it sent it, and she's typing back. So that time I did not have to intervene. The key is, so thanks for everybody being testing. The key is on these, whenever you're setting them up, turn that off. Show when run, it will always block. Turn that off, and you can add so much more. But I realize that probably got a little geeky for people, but I think that is one of the unsung heroes of iOS 12.
Well, I swear, I think it's going to be, once people really start playing with it, I think a lot of folks are probably going to ignore it because, like you said, it is kind of a geeky thing to do. But, the power of being able to go in and string like 3 or 4 apps together and say, okay, grab this from this app, throw it over into this app, do this, and then go over to this app and, send the results to Twitter or something like that. When people start realizing the power of that, it's pretty darn amazing.
Well, I never thought Apple would open it up to such automation, to be quite frank. But it's all within the phone. And I think with that neural network having 5 trillion operations a second, that it can do a lot of the Siri processing for us without going to the cloud.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they'll ever allow this, but I never thought they would do this. I do really hope, I would love to have a Siri shortcut, like say, have it set to send Ruby a birthday greeting. Her birthday's March 17th. Just set that up ahead of time. When the date and time comes, it just sends it.
Yeah.
And instead of me having to say Ruby's birthday or something like that. Now, but that's nice, to be able to do that. And the fact that you can plug in variables. It takes some programming to learn how to do that. If you're not a coder, which I'm not, I mean, I've coded some, and so I can get by with it. But the big thing is there's a gallery. Other people are going to write these real complex ones and share them.
Yeah. Well, and you're already starting to see some of the, excuse me, some of the geekier folks out there. Federico Vitici over at MacStories.net he's been just a total fan of workflow since it came out, and just very into scripting and trying to make things easier. And I noticed he's already been coming up with some just absolutely wild scripts, things that you'd sit there and you'd think, wait a second, you can't get a phone to do that. That's
right.
That's not going to work. And he's being able to do it. My dream would be to have it, be able to speak to it, have it, pretty much look at everything I've ever written, know my style of writing, write a post on a particular topic, and publish it for me. So.
Well, of course, talking about Siri shortcut is actually really, it had come out earlier, but this first time with this phone, they released, the actual app on the store.
Yeah.
But what they're going to do is Siri shortcuts in 2 levels. For the non-geeky person, like this is an example, and I don't know if this will happen, but if it sees, and I saw someone did post online, if it sees you have, a meal planned on your calendar with someone, Siri can offer and say, I see on your calendar you have a meal this evening at this restaurant. Would you like to silence the phone? And so it can learn things with the neural network. So that's for the non-geeky folks that don't want to program. It's going to learn your habits and start offering you things. If it sees you've got a movie planned, it'll offer to, just like I said, silent or move, and maybe turn the brightness all the way down for you, since it knows you're in a movie. But for those of you who want to program, it can really do a lot more detail. So, I mean, that's no complaint. I hope Apple will offer calendar, time, and location triggers. But if all they do is just Siri voice, that's good enough for me, because I can give it a command when I pull up somewhere. And I think there's one other thing I want to show. I keep thinking of these things. This is one of the handiest things in iOS 12. Now that I know how to screen share, there's no stopping me now. And so it has turned out pretty good. And we haven't even had time to get into Mojave. I loaded it today, and I believe my Mac Mini runs better than it did. I've got to pull it back up because I'd actually unhooked it from the computer and everything. I thought I was finished, but I thought I'd give one quick tip that might really help people. Okay, it did. Hey, QuickTime remembered that it was the phone that I was doing. All right, let me go to screen share and change to that application. Okay, so now I'm sure you can see this again.
Here we are.
Do not disturb is super handy, but now if you I still want to swipe up sometimes for control panel. If you go to control panel, press and hold on do not disturb for 1 hour until tomorrow morning, until I leave this location. And, or you can, schedule, and I love that, until I leave this location, but it can do one more. Let me set up one quick event. Ruby's in Arkansas. That's the only thing on the calendar for today. But let me just set up something called, I'll just set up AWT. It's going from, let's just go from 8 p.m. and let's just say to 10 p.m. so that I can make sure I get it in here. And show the time I want to put it. I'll put it on family calendar. See if that works. Okay, I want to make sure that I am busy. Okay, add that on there. So right now that is going on. It said the word now. So now if I go to do not disturb, press and hold, look what it's added.
Until the end of this event.
Yeah, it read that from the calendar. I think that is super nice for 1 hour until tomorrow morning, until I leave, until the end of this event. Tap that, and sure enough, I wonder if I change the time of the event to 9 o'clock, if it will turn do not disturb off. Let's try that. I haven't meant to. I feel like I've dominated and said too much, but I'm so excited about this. All right.
You're having fun, and I'm
we are
watching this.
Let's change this to 9 p.m. And so done. So the event's not going on now. So let's see if it's offered. It's not. It didn't offer it because it's no longer on the calendar. That is pretty stunning. And I think I'm going to stop there while I've got the audience stunned one way.
Everybody's stunned, like
for good or for better, for better, for worse.
Stunning. I was absolutely thrilled this morning. Well, actually a couple of days ago, because I found out a bit about it ahead of time. But, I've been a real fan of that Rachio smart sprinkler controller since they first came out.
I saw your article today.
I had the Model 1, I tried the Model 2, and now I'm on the Model 3. Well, they made the Model 3 HomeKit compatible. And the cool thing about it is, in the past, any HomeKit device had to have this little tag in there and a little number and all the rest of this garbage. And I don't know how they did this, but apparently worked with Apple on it. And you just go in to the HomeKit app. You go into the Rachio app. You get the code. I think it's a 6-digit code. You enter that in, and it automatically links up to the sprinkler timer. So I can go in and I can say, well, I'm going to turn my phone over here, but I can pretty much say, hey, Siri, water the front yard for 10 minutes, and it will do that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was a really cool thing, especially something that I've used obsessively for years, and I always thought, I would just love it if I could, if the lawn's looking a little dry, maybe add 10 minutes or do something like that without having to go to the app and open it up and do all the rest of that. Just tell Siri to do it. Now I can. Good stuff.
That is. I'm gonna try to investigate a little bit more HomeKit stuff. I we have a lot of lights outside. I'd love to be able to control with just my voice and some other things. And so especially I this phone here is obviously the best phone I've ever used. I love this phone. And some people may think, well, why did you get 512? Well, why they climb Mount Everest? It's there, and so and Ruby knows me all too well. I was debating that and the 256. I just 64 is out of the question, But she said, you won't be happy without the big one. And she knows me too well. But, one thing I don't know how to pan out next year, but the iPhone 10 I read just the other day retained 85% of its resale value. Wow. After 1 year. If this does even 75%, at $1,000, you're going to get 750, yeah. 1,500, you're going to get about 1,000. So that would be palatable to pay then resell at that,
Yeah.
So anyway, well, I feel like I've got so much more, and so whenever we meet again, we'll have more things. I shall have learned more. I guess I'm more excited about Siri shortcuts than anything because it really scratched that geeky itch in me.
I can't wait to see what we're able to do with that. I did want to bring up the fact that, believe it or not, my wife and I just got back from a vacation, but we're going to be unavailable on October 9th. So our next show, I think, will probably be on October 16th.
Well, that's okay. Yeah. Well, we do first and third, which we have been doing. So it'll be good to get back to that routine.
Yeah.
And the week after that, Ruby, who's listening, is going to Jamf as a representative of Apple World today.
That's right.
So she'll be up there. She'll be going without me this year. So she'll be in the Great White North.
Beautiful Minneapolis, St. Paul.
It was pretty. It was stunning. We didn't get out very far because we didn't have car or anything, but got out and walked. And the day after we left, it came a huge snow, that late in the year. So
I tell you, when I was doing a lot of travel to Minneapolis, St. Paul, it always snowed when I was there, or it was an ice storm or something horrible like that. And I remember one trip where the warmest it got during the trip was -16.
Oh, wow. Mm.
So it can be an interesting place.
Yeah, I want them to send me to cover something Honolulu, or some event there.
Yeah.
But anyway, I enjoyed Minnesota a lot. And so Ruby will be going and be there 4 weeks from tonight. She'll be writing and covering Jamf. And maybe we can actually have her do some videoing and I can record it and we could have some, reports or something. Last year was fun. We did our broadcast from there.
Yeah. No, that was a blast getting you
her roving reporter.
Yeah.
That was good. So enjoyed that. But I've got so much more, and I guess I'll close out with this. I am more excited and thrilled with Apple products than I've ever been. Because I did try the Pixel 2 XL. I did try the Note 9. They're no longer here. They're fine. And people won't like me saying this, but they just can't hold a candle to Apple.
Yeah.
You're buying an ecosystem, you're buying the service, you're buying the App Store, the Apple Store itself. You're getting much more than this for the cost.
And you're also buying that absolutely great service that I was talking about as well.
Yeah. I wrote about today, and I won't repeat it here. Well, Ruby's watch tore up. We took it to the store. They sent her a new one, replaced it, and it was the upgraded model, and it was out of warranty. They didn't have to do that, but they did.
Yeah.
And so, $1,000 or $1,500 for the 512. That's a lot of money, but I get so much more. And I got to thinking, who do I go to if I have a problem with Samsung or Google? There's no store to go to.
Yeah.
I like feeling that we're all in this together. If a problem does come up, and I wrote about this today, that there's a software or hardware problem, the internet's going to be ablaze with it. Apple will fix it soon. It'll be taken care of. I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a wall garden. 1,500. I'll do it again next year. I'm sorry, Ruby. I've got to. Some men have boats and fishing and hunting and golf. I don't do any of those. This is my hobby.
Yeah, Barb has to be, thankful as well that she's got a geek for a husband because, seriously, these are inexpensive compared to, oh,
Yeah.
honey, I've got to go out and buy a new motorcycle.
Yeah, I don't have a boat. I don't have a Harley.
Yeah.
It's just a phone. That's all I want to do.
I can buy a lot of phones for the cost of one.
And Ruby actually said, well, that's true. And, she's quite conservative as well. And so we've always been, I guess, relatively, you and I both have been in this. I guess my biggest expenditure through the years, and it sort of led into all this, ham radio can be a little bit of a deep subject. Of course, have I ever told you Ruby has her license as well?
Yeah.
She has the call sign one before mine when they printed them off in 80. We've been licensed 31 years. And you're longer than that, I think. We were 87.
Trying to think when I got mine, but I think I may be later.
We had to do Morse code, So
yeah, I was past code.
Yeah, we had to learn the code. So anyway, I don't mean to drag this on out, but I'm just so excited. And so come the 16th, I'm sure I'll have a lot of new things.
Well, and I think some of the other stuff that we'll probably be able to cover at that point. By that point, I think we'll really have a lot more experience with the cameras. One thing I did want to bring up that I find absolutely amazing. I thought the iPhone 10 camera was good, and I was taking some shots around the house. Of course, we have 2 black cats. Black cats are notoriously hard to take pictures of, and the photos I was able to get of them today were absolutely amazing. It's the first time I've had a camera, including my DSLR, that's been able to actually take a photo of a black cat and actually make it look good. So I don't know what they did. Maybe they knew
that's smart HDRs, a lot of it. They're combining pictures,
Yeah.
And speaking of numbers, this is where I got the 1 trillion. Whenever you take a picture, over 1 trillion operations are done on that photo. It's stunning. And this is an engineering marvel. I really am a geek, and I'm more interested in seeing what people can do with the neural engine and the processor. And, they're opening up serious shortcuts to third-party apps. It's going to be very amazing.
Yeah, being able to go in and control even more of the apps that are out there. Right now it seems like it's a handful. Like I can do stuff with Bear, which is the text editor that it's kind of my text editor of choice. But being able to, see a lot more apps and a greater variety of apps have that controllability and, be able to say, here are the things you can do with this app. And if you want, you can do this, and then you can throw it off to these other apps.
Right. Yeah. I just said, as a matter of fact, piddled with shortcuts late enough last night. I was falling asleep trying to program. I thought, I can't focus anymore. I've got to go to bed. And so really reminds me of the old days. They're giving the people that just want it to work, it's going to. The people that want to be geeks and really tweak it, they're going to be able to. They're giving us the best of both worlds. So.
And that's what people have been complaining about is, hey, there's, no, whatever the heck you want to customizability.
Right.
Well, now you can customize it any way you darn well please.
You can really make it do some complex things. So anyway, I think that's all I've got. I've droned on here. It's a quarter till the hour. So.
Well, this has been a fun one tonight. And
it has been fun. Well, it's been a month, and we knew we would have a lot. And so I look forward to learning this phone over the next year, and come next September, I'll do it all again.
Yeah, and we'll be back on, I'm pretty sure it's going to be October 16th. Maybe we'll have to do 2 weeks in a row or something like that just to catch up. But our next show will most likely be on October 16th. We'll definitely get the word out to everybody on Twitter and Facebook, and possibly even a post on Apple World today. I'm Steve Sandy, and be sure to go out and support your local Apple World today. And thanks again, Marty, for joining me and being such a great co-host.
Thanks. I enjoyed it. And I hope the people did too, and at least whet their appetite about what can I do with this. This is not your grandfather's iPhone or however they say. It is so much more than me. See, one thing I'm going to close out with, all these YouTube bloggers said there's been hardly any updates last year, and it's not even worth that. This is more updated than they realize. They're not looking beyond it's more than a pretty face at A12, and
Yeah.
it's so much more.
And that
But
screen
anyway,
is, the screen is just incredible.
yeah, we hadn't even talked about that. The color gamut and everything about it is just, this is one thing they've added from the iPhone 10. I don't know if you've noticed or not. I won't show you on the screen because I'd have to hook it back up. But do you remember you could go in display and go into standard or zoomed to make everything slightly bigger? They took that out in the iPhone 10, probably because the screen was a little small and it pushed things off the notch. That is back. I love that. And I can see text and everything so much clearer.
I may have to have that.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. We shall see you later.
We'll talk to you later.
Have a great one, everybody. Bye.